Hey guys, what's up? It's Debbie. Welcome to my channel. We are on the afternoon session of day 28 of the Kieran Reed retrial. We are about to start the cross examination of Dr. Daniel Wolf. Whoops, sorry. Forgot to mute myself. Hey Judy, hey Wiggles, what's up, y'all? Thank you for coming back. Hopefully more people will join us. Um we are about to get the cross-examination of Dr. Daniel Wolf from ARCA. Let's see how much ass of himself Brennan can make him. How much of an ass Brennan can make of himself. We'll get it out right in a minute. I am still flummoxed as to why every time Alan Jackson mentions Dr. Welcher's name, he gets objected to, and ask it differently. I think we need to have shirts made that say ask it differently. um Man, I wish I had more people, because I can't justify the expense, right? Because there's not enough of y'all. I mean, I guess I could make us shirts on the cricket, but anyway, every time Alan Jackson asks a question with Welcher's name in it, she says, ask it differently, and he'll re-ask it, still with Welcher's name in it, and it gets objected to. And I thought the whole reason this trial for ARCA was to rebut Welcher's testimony. So I don't understand why he keeps losing the objections, or why Brennan keeps winning. And they end up going to sidebar, and that makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. I don't understand it. But eventually they got out that it is inconsistent. The holes in the hoodie. Hey, Hez. Yay, you're back. I'm so glad you're here. They did get out that the holes in the hoodie was inconsistent with the breakage of the taillight, as well as the complete destruction of the taillight being inconsistent with being hit at 29 miles an hour. They only said the car went up to 24 miles per hour. So even at 29 miles per hour, a full hit to a 200-pound dummy, and he did not get thrown 30 feet. Did not get thrown 30 feet. So, isn't that what Trooper Paul said? He pirouetted and was thrown 30 feet. But when the dummy was hit, it just slid along the ground. So none of it is consistent with what happened to John O'Keefe that night. None of it. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I did? I mean, other than letting a dog attack a dummy, which hopefully. Okay, are they calling Wing for their case in chief, or is he supposed to be a rebuttal witness? I thought rebuttal though was only the state got to do a rebuttal. Higgins was parked behind Karen. See, that's another thing. If she had backed up, she would have run into Brian Higgins' Jeep, which was made much more clear in the first trial. Remember the whole thing when Jim McCabe testified and she slipped that she knew what Matt had testified in the trial, and then she corrected herself and said, "Oh no, I don't know what he testified, but I know that he knows where the Jeep was because we were in the same car. He was with me and saw the Jeep." Remember, she slipped up that she knew his testimony? Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember where, what was his name? Julie Nagel's brother, whatever his name was. Ryan Nagel? I don't remember where his truck was. But I do remember that Brian Higgins' Jeep would have been in the way. If she had backed up, what was it, like 87 feet or something like that? She would have hit Brian Higgins' Jeep. His Jeep away. Came out much more clearly in the first trial. And that's because, and rightly so, I think, like, Brennan didn't call every single person that was there that night. Which, in a way, that's good because it's streamlined this trial. But you also don't get everybody saying they didn't see him on the lawn. Which I think that needs to be, hopefully in closing, the defense will highlight that because somebody should have seen him on the lawn when they left the house. If he's dead on the lawn, somebody should have seen him. Yeah. So at that point, their truck would have been either behind, even like behind her car, between. But
all right, so counsel, we have a juror that needs to leave.
We're all there together.
At 3:45, so we're going till 3:45 today. Okay.
Like, no room to back up that much. Just so many things make no sense. It makes none of it. It just makes no sense. There's cars in the way. Nobody saw him on the lawn. I don't know if you were here the day that I was like, aliens, that's it. He was abducted by aliens. Nobody saw him from 12:30 to 6 o'clock in the morning. That's what happened. He was abducted by aliens and then they dumped him back on the lawn. Because it doesn't make sense. And the fact that we don't know what happened, there's no logical explanation, that's reasonable doubt right there.
To stop today at 3:45.
It's none of it makes sense.
Mr. Brennan.
I don't think we're ever really going to know what happened in that house or to him or anything that happened.
All right. So
yeah,
okay,
but
great.
I don't think they're going to because of the other people they've called for as witnesses.
Right, do we have the actual? Okay, great. Yep. So.
Exhibit 216.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Brennan.
Good afternoon, Dr. Wolf.
Good afternoon.
When you testified in direct, you shared with
Yeah,
the jury
right?
some of the work
Makes
that
just
ARCA
as much
does.
sense.
Remember that?
Yes.
And you had mentioned a couple interesting things, that there had been some work with the Department of Defense.
Correct. Yes.
The work with the Department of Defense, was that during your time or before you got there?
That would have been prior to my employment. Yes.
So when you were telling them about working with the Department of Defense, that really had nothing to do with you. That was ARCA before you began working there.
ARCA as a whole, yes. The work that we do, yes.
Not you.
As I said, I wasn't involved specifically in that project, no.
And you mentioned that you did some stuff, or the company does some things for the NHL.
Yes.
You didn't tell us much more about what you do. There's other things that ARCA does as far as clients, right?
Certainly.
Did you share with us that you work for lawyers and law firms?
Yes, we do.
And you do litigation, insurance companies?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any reason why you highlighted the Department of Defense that you don't do and the NHL, but didn't share the rest of the stuff with us?
That's just some of the prominent clients that we have.
I see.
Trying to make it seem
You provided us a CV, didn't you?
Yes.
And that's like a resume, tells us a little bit about your education experience. You get to highlight some of the things, your accomplishments.
Yes.
You shared with us you've been the director of accident reconstruction at this company, ARCA, since 2017.
No, not since I started.
You started with ARCA in 2017.
Correct, yes.
When did you become the director of accident reconstruction?
I think that would have been in January of 2024, so about a year and a half.
About a year and a half ago?
Yes.
And you received your certification from ACTAR.
Yes.
Did you pass the test on both parts first time?
I don't recall if it, I think it was I had to retake, I think, the practical section in the afternoon.
Well, you would recall something like that, wouldn't you? Did you pass both parts on the first try?
Like I said, I think it was the second part I had to retake.
Well, this is a pretty important test, isn't it?
Not really.
It's your certification.
It is, but much of the concepts that are covered in it are very elementary.
Well, not so elementary. You had a hard time with part of it, didn't you?
Well, with respect to the portion that I had to retake, it's a practical exam where you have to reconstruct an accident, where you have to determine approach angles, departure angles, and it can be very sensitive to those inputs. And unfortunately, if you mess up one of your first angles and you carry out that calculation, then the whole problem is graded wrong, even if you did all of the math correct.
So we understand there's a multiple choice question part that's the easier part, correct?
I don't know if it's easier, but there is a multiple choice part.
There's a more practical part where you actually have to go out in the field and do assessments, kind of like things that you did today.
You don't go out into the field, no.
And when did you first take that second part that you didn't pass?
I don't recall.
You don't remember when you took the test?
No, I don't.
Suffice to say, you took it again.
Correct.
And ultimately, you passed both sections of that test?
Yes.
In your CV, you list your schooling, and you list your degrees, don't you?
Yes.
Brennan, are you sure you want to go there? Your expert lied on his resume.
You mentioned some of the things that you focused on in your academic experience, don't you?
Yes.
And you have publications.
Correct.
Recently, you did a publication regarding vehicle control history on Toyotas.
Correct.
Vehicle control history is data that is stored in a vehicle,
Yes.
and Toyota owns Lexus, correct?
Correct.
So you have familiarity with vehicle control history. In fact, you have a publication on it.
Yes.
In your entire resume, you only mention pedestrian collisions, or that you're involved in pedestrian-type events 3 times. Is there anything specific in your resume or your publications that show a published accomplishment, for example, in pedestrian collisions? Do you have any publications that have been peer-reviewed or published in that area?
No, I don't have any publications in pedestrians.
You write or you note areas of specialty, and you list a bunch: accident reconstruction, human factors, EDR, commercial vehicle, HVEDR, pedestrian bicycle accidents, nighttime visibility, and a number of others, correct?
Correct.
Is there anywhere in your resume that notes particular classes that you've attended and completed regarding pedestrian collisions?
No, I haven't taken any classes in that.
You haven't taken any classes on pedestrian collisions?
No.
Have you ever taught regarding pedestrian collisions?
No.
Have you ever been a speaker in a presentation about pedestrian collisions?
Yes.
Okay. Is that listed in your resume?
I don't list lectures or presentations, no.
You were asked questions about your involvement in this case. Yes?
Yes.
And you had shared with us that
You Google it?
you, at the beginning, were working for a separate party or a third party, you said?
Yes, another agency.
Another agency. And at some point, you came into court and testified last year.
Yes.
And during the time before you came in and testified, you weren't wholly independent of the defense, were you?
Well, certainly before all of our testing, at the point at which we did all of our testing, report, and analysis, as I mentioned on direct, I didn't know the Commonwealth or the defense in this case.
My question, more precisely, before you testified, before you came into court and gave your testimony, you weren't totally independent from the defense, were you?
No, I mean, I had to communicate with them to be able to determine when to appear for testimony.
So you were communicating with them, yes?
Yes.
And in fact, some of the time that you spent, ARCA actually billed the defense for, and they paid that bill, didn't they?
Eventually after the trial, yes.
During that time, you know what a sequestration order is, don't you?
Yes.
Do you think that you're under a sequestration order today?
Yes.
Did you talk to anybody about any of the prior testimony in this case before today?
No.
How'd you get here today?
How did I get here today? I took a car ride over from the hotel.
Who drove you?
It was a driver. I don't know his name.
Who set up the car?
It would have been someone on the defense team.
Was it like a window, like a limo?
It was an SUV.
Was there anybody from the defense with you on the ride over?
There were 3 young ladies in the back seat. I think they might have been interns, and Mr. Woke.
And who?
Mr. Wolk, I think is it pronounced? Am I saying it wrong?
Have you discussed anything about this case before your testimony today as far as the trial?
Before today?
Yes.
Yes.
Have you discussed anybody's testimony in this case?
Nobody's testimony, no.
That was different last year, though, because before you testified last year, you did have discussions about testimony, didn't you?
It doesn't matter.
Not with the Commonwealth or the defense, no.
But I'm asking, though, you did have discussions about testimony before you testified last year, right?
Correct, yes.
And you know what a sequestration order is, don't you?
Yes.
Why does that matter now? It
After you
doesn't.
testified last year, the court ordered you to provide all of your text messages, all your communications with the defense, didn't they?
Yes, earlier this year.
And when you were ordered to provide all of the actual verbatim communications with the defense, did you provide those communications?
Yes, all of the records that I had at the time I provided.
Well, not the records, you know what I'm getting at. Did you provide the communications?
I provided everything I had in my possession, sir.
A text message isn't just a time and date, it's actually substance when you text somebody, isn't there?
Correct.
And when you texted, how many texts do you think you had with the defense?
From what I recall, I think it was around 50 texts that I sent.
It wasn't 100, I think it was 50.
Well, I think it was around 100 total, in terms of back and forth, but it was, I think, 50 that I sent.
And during those texts, communications, conversations, correct?
About logistics, yes.
Did you provide the content of those text messages when you were ordered to by the court?
Well, those text messages spanned from, I guess it would have been April or so of 2024 through May to June of 2024. Ultimately, I think I received the court's order in May of this year, April of this year. So it was a year after the fact, and I had already deleted the text at that point.
How many of those text messages did you delete?
I just swiped the conversation, so it would have been the whole conversation.
Not how you did it. How many of those 100 or so text messages did you delete, sir?
It would have been the whole text chain. I didn't individually delete them. It just, when you swipe, it just deletes the text chain.
After you deleted them, did you go into the recently deleted and then delete them so they were unavailable?
I don't recall doing that.
Well, you were asked to search your records of the text messages. Did you do a thorough search to see if you still had them or whether you had destroyed them all?
I checked my phone, and I also checked with my phone carrier.
So do you know if they were still under the recently deleted part of your phone, or did you go and take that extra step and totally destroy them?
From what I recall, I did not find any of the text messages, no.
Recently deleted.
Is there any reason why you
after
deleted
a certain amount of time.
all of your text communications with the defense?
Well, it's something that I routinely do. I work with attorneys and clients all the time, whether it's appearing for trial or inspections, and I don't have a habit of keeping a text chain that talks about logistics and things. It's just I routinely delete them after that communication is over with, and certainly after the prior proceeding, once it had concluded, there was no reason for me to preserve those.
Okay. And so, at some point, you switched from text messages to another form of communication, didn't you?
Yes, earlier this year.
Tell us a little bit about this new form of communication, not text messages.
Mr. Jackson had indicated that he and his defense team utilized an application known as Signal for their communications amongst their defense team. Ultimately asked if I would also use that application to communicate, which I agreed to.
Is Signal an encrypted app?
It's a secure encrypted app, yes.
It doesn't leave any records, right?
I don't believe so, no.
Well, you have it. You're using it. Do you have any records from your Signal use?
I'm going to allow that.
Do you have any records from your Signal use?
I do not, no.
So you know full well that Signal as an encrypted app leaves no record.
There may be a setting that you can change. I just know that the way that it was set up, there was no record.
Well, who set yours up to have no record?
I don't know. I think it was default.
Have you ever checked your Signal app to see if you have any record of your communications pursuant to that court order?
Well, I don't have the application anymore, but at the time I did check the application.
Out of all these clients that you've had, how many times or how many clients would you use Signal with?
This was the first time.
Have you used it since with other clients?
Not yet, no.
Before you testified last time, at the last proceeding, or should I say, when you testified at the last proceeding, kind of like today, you attempted to portray yourself as totally independent, didn't you?
Sustained enough.
When you testified at the prior proceeding, did you attempt to portray yourself as totally independent?
Yes.
The truth is, before you testified, you were communicating with the defense and attempting the best you could to assist their cause, weren't you?
I wouldn't characterize it that way.
So before you testified, you wrote out questions that you thought could help, that you should be asked when you testified, correct?
So something I routinely do before testifying is prepare an outline of topics and questions that would best help be able to get out my opinions and the analysis I undertook, ultimately so that you all have an understanding of what I did.
So I'm asking you a question. You gave the explanation, but you're skipping over the answer to my question. So
Sustained.
I'll ask you again. Before you testified, did you write out a list of questions that you wanted to be asked?
Brendan,
Yes.
And when you listed out the questions, you also
Just
listed out the
going.
answers, didn't you?
A general response. It wouldn't be verbatim to that.
I didn't say verbatim, but did you list out the answers to each and every one of the questions that you had prepared?
Yes.
So for every question, there's an answer that you provided so that you could follow a script, so to speak, yes?
I wouldn't characterize it as a script.
One of the questions,
okay, let me real quick for the people that didn't watch the first trial. In the first trial, they were hired by the FBI, who hired them to investigate the case. Then somehow, I guess they got in touch with the defense. I'm not even sure how they got involved with testifying at the trial. I guess they got in touch with the defense to offer their services to testify. But all they did was email the defense, and then they were like, sure, come testify. And they had not gotten an opportunity to speak to them in person, to sit down and go over testimony or anything like that. And Judge Kennedy said, you expect me to believe that you're going to put a witness on the stand that you haven't even had a chance to sit down and talk to them about what they're going to say on the stand? And he said, yes. And she still didn't believe him, but went ahead and let them testify. And then this time, when Hank objected, and he kept writing motions to exclude their testimony, but then he would say during the hearings that he's not trying to exclude their testimony, but he actually was, because he kept writing motions to exclude their testimony. So they did this voir dire where Hank was so rude to Dr. Wolf, and then it came out that he had written an email to them with a list of questions. And the list of questions, Dr. Wolf explained, like he just explained, it is his habit that when he testifies that he sends that to whoever he's testifying for as a suggestion. It's not, you have to ask me these questions. It's a suggestion on topics. And especially in this case, when the defense had not hired them, it was the FBI that had hired them because of the federal investigation into this case. So he was not hired by the defense. The defense didn't ask them to testify. They were totally independent of the trial, of the parties of the trial. So he wasn't really an expert for the defense in the first trial. So that's why you're confused. Right. But he wasn't exactly, like, they had not hired them. They had not sat down with them or anything as of the first trial. So in the first trial, they weren't really experts for the defense. They were experts for the FBI.
asks, so not being able to inspect vehicles is something that is not uncommon in your line of work? And your answer, absolutely not. Remember writing that out?
Yes.
And then you put a footnote, a comment. And you said, not sure if you want to put this somewhere.
So that's why Brennan had his panties in a wad, because they got an email from them and the defense didn't get to talk to them. I don't know what his deal is, because they're bad for his case, basically.
In direct examination, I have a feeling they are going to argue I didn't personally inspect the vehicles. I had enough information from the material I reviewed, so it wasn't necessary. If you need to show the jury, it doesn't matter in this case. Did you write that?
Yes.
And when you're talking about they, I have a feeling they are going to argue I didn't personally inspect the vehicle. Who's they?
That'd be the Commonwealth.
And so when you were writing out these questions as is your routine with the answers, is this the mark of independence to you?
Well, I think, again, whether the Commonwealth asked me that question or the defense asked me that question, my response would be the same. It wouldn't change depending on who called me to testify. There are a number of cases, by the time I get involved, the evidence is gone from the roadway, the vehicle is gone. So it's certainly not necessary to inspect a vehicle. And I wanted the jury to have an understanding that because I didn't physically inspect the vehicle, it didn't affect my analysis in the case.
So you think that showed independence?
Yes.
Then you also had another question. Would it be fair to say that because you do a lot of nighttime visibility work, your cases frequently involve pedestrians? Remember that?
Yes.
And you said, yes, unfortunately, there is a direct correlation between time of day and pedestrian fatalities. Is that true?
Correct. Yes.
And do they happen more often in the day or at night?
More often at night. Yes.
Statistically speaking, by the way, this case involves nighttime, doesn't it?
Correct.
Statistically speaking, most of pedestrian fatalities occur during the evening and night hours. So my specialty in the area of lighting and human factors results in a lot of my cases involving pedestrians. Did you write that?
Yes.
In fact, when you testified, you shared that with the jury, didn't you?
Correct. I've testified to that twice last year as well as this year.
And in the notes that you wrote, when you shared it last year and this year, was it an important point to the jury?
I think so, because it helped gave them an understanding, I think, of my background in lighting and human factors. And as I mentioned earlier today, there's a direct correlation between time of day and pedestrian impacts, right? So my specialty in lighting and human factors results in me seeing many, many different types of pedestrian impacts.
So if it was important, why did you include a note? If you don't want me to say this, that's fine. Why did you include a note to the defense that if they didn't want you to say something that you thought was important, you would leave it out?
Well, I think because I didn't want to confuse the jury about a statistic that just because we have inclement weather and dark lighting conditions, it doesn't automatically equal a pedestrian impact, right? We have to look at the evidence and the damage to the vehicle and the injuries to determine whether or not a collision occurred, not the visibility.
Good answer.
So you weren't trying to mislead the jury, you were trying to help them because they wouldn't understand something that you were trying to explain? Is that the way you're phrasing this?
I think at the end of the day, it was to help them understand my background, how it relates to seeing a lot of pedestrian impacts.
Something was important and it helps the jury get to the truth. Why would you offer to leave it out?
Well, I didn't leave it out.
No, but you offered to. You would have if requested. Why did you invite, why did you invite somebody else to interject in your independence and guide you to leave something out? Why would you even provide that invitation to them?
Again, it's because I didn't want them to get hung up on a statistic that just because we have more that happened at night under bad weather, to give it more weight, to weight the evidence more because of that statistic.
You done?
Yes.
If you make a mistake in court under oath, would you take the affirmative step on your own and correct that mistake?
I would do my best to do that, yes.
Well, when you say do your best, would you do that if you became aware of it? Before you testified in a proceeding last year, there was a hearing that you testified in front of Her Honor and other people that were here, correct?
Correct.
I wasn't here.
No.
You were.
Yes.
And you testified about your experience, didn't you?
Correct,
When you were
yes.
sharing your experience with the court, it was important for the court to have an accurate understanding of what your experience was because it was being evaluated in that hearing, wasn't it?
Correct.
When you testified to the court,
Hey, Robbie. Welcome back.
you testified that you had been qualified as an expert to testify over 20 times, didn't you?
Uh-oh, he found something.
I don't have the transcript. I believe I said approximately 20 times.
The reality is you hadn't. You'd only testified and been qualified 11 times at that point.
Correct. I misunderstood the question. I thought it also encompassed deposition, so I added those two and approximated at 20.
And at some point when you realized you had made a mistake in your testimony to the court, you had a chance to come back when you testified last year and fix it and clarify the record, didn't you?
Correct, which is why I provided a comment with the specific breakdown for clarification.
And when you came back and testified under oath the second time, on the record, under oath, did you clarify and fix the mistaken testimony that you had provided just days earlier?
I don't recall being asked a question. No.
No, it wasn't whether you're being asked. The question is, did you take the affirmative step to fix the misstatements under oath that you made?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it.
Move your vote.
Sure.
Wasn't asked the question. Why would he? If he wasn't asked the question, why would he correct something he said in a hearing that the jury wasn't present for? What is he supposed to do? Say, oh, jury, I said something wrong in a hearing that you weren't at and didn't hear. So this is what I should have said at that hearing. Why, Wiggles? Why? That is a stupid question. I have to find this
After
clip.
your first testimony, you appreciated that you made a statement under oath.
I have to find this clip.
Yes.
In fact, you made a note. I realized in my testimony I said about 20 times when you asked me how many times I'd been qualified. I misinterpreted your question, which was my fault, but in looking at my D&T list, it's 11 trials, 7 depositions, 18 testimonies total. Not sure if you want to clear it up, but just leave it. Was that
Correct.
right?
Yes, sir.
Did you just leave it?
I'm not responsible for asking the question, sir.
Do you ever heard the terms confirmation bias?
Yes.
Do you know what confirmation bias is generally?
Generally, yes.
Do you think that you suffer from any confirmation bias in this case?
No.
Do you have any close family that supports one side over the other? Not the facts of the data, but one side over the other.
Close family?
Yes.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
What?
Wife?
My wife?
Yes.
I don't really know what her thoughts are on the case.
May I approach?
Yes.
Because she's in the Facebook group. Oh my God, Brennan. She got in the Facebook group after he testified.
That document, have you seen that before?
No, I have not.
Never seen that.
Sorry,
No.
need a headphone warning for me. Because I'm getting loud. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You're unaware of anything that may influence you to lean one way or another?
Correct.
Bad Debbie. Bad Debbie. Bad.
When you first took a look at some of the facts in this case, you had some information. Since then, you've received a lot more, haven't you?
Correct, yes.
Part of your testimony today to this jury was to provide opinions that you do not think that the holes in Mr. O'Keefe's clothes are consistent with some type of collision. Is that fair to say?
You would get
Yes.
along with my husband because he thinks the same thing. He just laughs
In
at me.
coming to that opinion, you relied on some of your testing that we saw in those videos, didn't you?
Yes.
And that testing involves a hybrid 3-arm, doesn't it?
Correct, yes.
A hybrid 3-arm is an arm from a crash dummy.
Yes.
That's not the technical name, but that's what it's often referred to.
Yes.
And you and Dr. Renshaw have been working together on this case, haven't you?
Yes.
You've discussed ideas and shared thoughts.
Yes.
In fact, you've worked so intimately together, you know some of the things he's going to testify if he comes to testify, you've said many times today, right?
Yes.
And so some of the data that you shared and some of the opinions overlap with each other, wouldn't you say?
Certainly, he's going to rely on a lot of that test data, yes.
When you were forming your opinion about holes in clothes and potential abrasions to somebody's skin, all of those tests, all of those that you did, were using a crash test dummy arm, weren't they?
Yes.
In your report, you cite, or Dr. Rentschler cites, 3 different sources regarding testing clothing and skin, correct?
I'm not sure.
Well, haven't you read his report?
I've skimmed it, but I don't know what the basis are for his opinions.
Did you see footnotes 24, 25, 26, 24 being skin tissue cutability and its relation to lacerations, severity, indices? Did you read that?
Let's see if there's a foundation.
No, I didn't read that reference.
Did you read 25, the book that is cited, Forensic Pathology, 2nd edition?
First, she would have.
I'm going to have you come to sidebar.
Yeah, let's see if there's a foundation. But if it'd been reversed, she would have made a different ruling.
Whether or not crash test dummies should be used during experiments as a basis for an opinion of whether abrasions can happen through cloth or an arm, wouldn't that particularly interest you since you were going to come here and testify about it multiple times in front of this jury?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
You knew you were going to come in here and suggest to the jury that you thought that these tests were inconsistent with causing any type of holes in clothing similar to Mr. O'Keefe's or abrasions on his arm. You knew that was going to be part of your opinion today.
Yes.
As
Yes.
part of forming a valid opinion that people can rely upon, wouldn't you want to do as much study as possible on the background for that opinion before you give it to a jury?
I suppose, yes.
Well, you suppose. Don't you think if you come in here as an expert, the jury is relying on your background and education? Don't
Yes.
you think- and they're relying on the fact that you're representing something definitively or with an opinion to a reasonable degree of certainty? You understand that, right?
Yes.
And don't you think when you do that, that it's important that you have proper study and foundation before you just come into court and give an opinion?
Well, I will note that the ATD crash dummy is a generally accepted test device to use for not only assessing occupant forces in motor vehicle crashes, but also to assess impact forces. So that the use of that device is certainly generally accepted.
That's what they were developed for.
You generally tend to answer a different question.
Sustain, Mr. Brennan, next question. Strike that,
Let
Jules.
me ask you again. Don't you think, as an expert, it's important when you come in and you're going to present an opinion based on science or engineering or whatever you want to do, that you study the basis for that opinion before you give it?
Yes.
When you saw in Dr. Rentzler's report references to this very issue about what should be used when you're doing demonstrations or study of what can cause tears to clothing, weren't you interested in the basis for those opinions?
Well, again, it was something where Dr. Rentschler and I worked together, and we were in agreement that we could utilize the ATD arm clothed.
When you decided to have an agreement that you could use that arm, did you read the book that he cites as support, Forensic Pathology, 2nd edition, Vincent J. DeMaio? Did you read it?
No, I did not.
Did you brief it?
No.
Did you peruse through it at all?
No.
When you decided to come to this agreement that's going to have a foundation for your opinions, did you look at footnote 26, understanding the acute skin injury mechanism caused by player surface contact during soccer, a survey and systematic review? Did you review that?
No, sir.
Have you seen any articles that support the proposition that a hybrid 3 arm of a crash test dummy is appropriate to use when you're trying to provide a foundation for an opinion about whether or not tears can happen to clothing or abrasions to skin? Do you have any support for that in your report?
Well, again, Dr. Rentschler is going to be addressing the. You're shaking your head.
So I'm going to let him answer the question first, Mr.
So as I mentioned, Dr. Rentschler is assessing the injuries to the arm. Okay. He indicated to me that we could utilize the hybrid arm to assess the injuries to the arm.
So you have no independent experience or research or knowledge, not Dr. Rentschler, you don't have any independent research or science or knowledge to support your idea, your theory, your opinion to this jury about the tears to the clothes into the skin.
I was relaying the observations from the testing that we conducted with the ATD. Ultimately, like I said, Dr. Rentschler, it's my understanding that he will testify to the abrasions or the lacerations to the arm.
You've given multiple opinions about this to this jury, didn't you?
Correct, yes.
I'll ask you one more time. I'll ask it this way. Name, other than someone called Dr. Rentschler, name the papers, the studies, the learned treatise, name the resource material you relied on as the basis for those opinions. That a hybrid 3 arm can be used in these type of demonstrations as a basis for that type of opinion.
I certainly, ATD crash test dummies can be used for impact testing, yes.
Not impact testing. We're talking about tears to clothes, abrasions to skin. And I'm asking for the third time. Name one journal, one paper, one study that supports your proposition that you're relying on for the basis of your opinion in front of this jury today. Name one.
I did not cite any in my report, no.
Can you think of one that you didn't cite?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Why does he need to cite a paper when he did the work? I would rather see a practical demonstration than citing a paper. I think a jury would too, and that's exactly what he did. Show me. Hey, Terry. Did you guys
You had
hear
mentioned
him
on
mention
direct
DeMaio?
examination that when you
Mr.
first
Eyebrow
started
from
looking at
Spectre
material
Trial?
some time ago, at the beginning, you were unconstrained in the scope of your study. Is that fair to say?
Are we talking about 2023?
Yes, we are.
Okay, yes.
You were unconstrained. You could have done anything you wanted to.
I don't know about anything.
When you said unconstrained, what did that mean?
Well, the agency that retained us didn't ask us to do specific work per se or specific tests.
You didn't do any type of crash test at that time, did you? You started a working theory that perhaps a glass was thrown at the rear taillight of the defendant's car?
Yes.
Did someone suggest to you that was a theory?
No.
It's just something that you and Dr. Rentschler thought up together?
Based on the evidence that we had, yes.
When you thought up that as a potential theory, that's why you built the potato cannon?
The pressurized cannon, yes.
Pressurized
Not
cannon.
potato cannon,
And you
Brennan.
shot a glass at the rear taillight, yes?
Yes.
You determined that at 37 miles per hour, there'd be similar damage?
Yes.
And then you came into court last year, didn't you?
Yes.
And you provided that opinion of consistency to the jury, didn't you?
Yes.
You got up and you said that something to the effect that that speed is consistent with the damage?
Yes.
Now, when you gave that theory last year to the jury, did you
Why does he keep calling it a potato cannon? Is he just doing that to demean his work? Is he doing that on purpose just to be a jerk and make him seem like his experiments are junk science? Like, why is he doing that? or am I just reading too much into it?
Know about other evidence in this case? For example, if a glass was thrown at the back of a car, how would the bottom of the glass bounce off the car and land near Mr. O'Keefe's body?
Objection.
Ask it differently.
Did you consider, when you came in last year and opined, gave your theory about a glass being thrown at the tail light was consistent with damage, did you think about how, if a glass was thrown at the rear tail light, the bottom would have bounced off the vehicle wherever it was and landed near Mr. O'Keefe's body?
I'm aware that it was found near his body, yes.
And knowing that it was found near his body, or you knew his body was about 7 or 8 feet off the road, didn't you?
Yes.
Knowing the bottom of the glass, the broken glass was found near his body 7 to 8 feet off the road, did you consider if somebody threw a glass and broke that taillight? Cross your mind how would the bottom of the glass bounce with him to where his body ended up?
No, I did not analyze that part of it.
If a glass was thrown and bounced off that car, did you consider how steep it would be left at the curb?
No, I did not evaluate that.
If glass was thrown at the car and broke the taillight, did you consider how the debris field would end up on the lawn?
Well, it's my understanding, I think that there were plows that came through that night, so I don't know that where the debris field was eventually found, if that's where it would have been at some point earlier.
Did you ever talk to Lieutenant O'Hara or anybody from the state police to see if the plows went all the way to the side of the yard or were just down the middle? Look into that at all?
No, I did not.
So did you give any careful consideration to, if the glass was thrown and hit the back of that taillight, how there would be a debris field on the front lawn of somebody's yard?
I don't think that was a part of our scope. It was more or less to determine whether or not, if the taillight was impacted by a projectile like a glass, could you get generally consistent damage to that taillight? That was the objective of the test.
So when you came in and testified last time, you weren't considering all of the other evidence that may not support that theory, were you?
I think our objective was to determine whether or not the damage was consistent with an interaction with Mr. John O'Keefe, and could there be another mechanism to cause the tail light to break?
Is there a reason why you were backing off that opinion on direct examination today?
Objection.
Sustained.
You weren't fully embracing that theory today, were you?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
I don't know if I agree with that.
In this case, you provided reports recently.
Yes.
When did you provide your report? Was it April 6th
April 6th?
or was it May 6th?
I think it's May 7th,
May
if I'm not
7th.
mistaken.
So you provided a report May 7th, yes?
Correct.
And do you know when this trial started?
Early April?
You provided your PowerPoint. When did you provide your PowerPoint?
I think it would have been Thursday of this week.
Well, it wasn't last night. It was
Sorry,
probably-
maybe Wednesday.
probably
Wednesday or Thursday.
Wednesday. Is that fair?
Yes.
In looking at pedestrian accidents, it's important to try, if you can, understand the exact positioning of the body, isn't it?
If a collision occurred, yes.
And if a collision occurred, you can't always identify the exact position of the body, can you?
No, oftentimes it can be very difficult, yes.
You would want to know if it is a collision between a car and a pedestrian, whether the person was fully impacted or it was a clipping type incident. Wouldn't you want to know that if you could?
That would certainly affect the trajectory, yes.
And you would want to know, if you could, the body posture, whether the person was standing up straight or crouching,
If a collision occurred, yes.
whether they were turning or standing straight or they had their arm out. That's helpful information, isn't it?
It can be, but when we're talking about how quickly this impact duration is, right? If you recall back to the PowerPoint, right, we're talking about a a 10 millisecond window. So however the body is positioned at contact, that's how it's positioned. It's not going to be able to have any significant movement or change in orientation.
The person who's hit, can it?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Positioning of the body, the way they're positioned, that can change the trajectory if they're hit after they're hit, can it?
It can, yes.
Whether they're moving towards the vehicle or away from it could affect the trajectory, couldn't it?
If they have some relative velocity, yeah.
Trying to determine the point of impact when you're looking at a scene, it's important when you do trajectory studies to know where the point of impact is, isn't it?
If you're going to utilize studies that look at projection of pedestrians when you're contacted at the center of gravity and you get projected some distance, you can rely on those studies, but you have to have an understanding of where the point of impact is and where the point of rest is.
If you don't have the point of impact, if you don't know the point of impact, you don't know the exact body position, that creates variables in your studies, doesn't it?
Well, again, talking about those studies, they're not applicable when you are contacting, for instance, just a limb or you don't have a center of gravity hit. Those when you're talking about how far will a pedestrian get projected, if it's like a forward projection or what's known as like a wrap projection where the pedestrian wraps onto the hood and then becomes decoupled, those studies are applicable there. But when you're talking about where there's minimal overlap between the body and the center of gravity, then you can't utilize those studies.
So you would not want to know where the point of impact is?
In this particular case, no, I don't think it would be helpful.
You would not want to know the body position?
I don't think that it would be helpful in determining, because again, we have to start with, is it consistent with a collision?
So you would not want to know the body position. That's what you're telling us. You don't want to know that.
Well, if the evidence indicates that the contact is inconsistent, then that's kind of where the reconstruction stops. You can't go to a point of impact and a point of rest if there was no contact.
So you don't want to know the body position.
Objection.
Can you answer that?
I don't understand this question, Your Honor.
When you're doing studies, you don't want to know the body position?
Objection.
Can you answer that, Dr. Wong?
Again, it depends on the type of impact. For the alleged contact in this case, you can't rely on those studies about impact location and point of rest. They're not applicable to
I'm not
this.
talking about studies. As far as data, information, you as the person doing tests, would you want to know the body positioning?
Objection. This is 5 times.
And this time we'll get an answer and that'll be it.
We got an answer every single time.
Can you answer that, Dr. Wong?
I feel like I've answered it the best I can, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
You don't like that question?
Objection.
Sustained. Strike. Jurors disregard.
Okay. When you were doing these video demonstrations, was it important to be as accurate as possible?
Yes.
Data changes if information changes, right?
I'm not sure I understand your
That's
question.
a tough question. You want to be precise as you can in ultimately having a conclusion regarding data, don't you?
Yes.
Could I have PowerPoint page 12, please? Now look at force on the bottom. The first letter F signifies force, correct?
Correct.
And the last 2 letters, MA, signifies mass, yes?
Correct.
That's a very important part of that equation, isn't it?
Yes.
If you change the mass, it can change the whole analysis, can't it?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Let me make it more simple. When you did these tests, you chose a arm from a Hybrid 3 crash dummy, didn't you?
Yes.
You can take that down, Ms. Gilman. Now, when you made that choice, you knew that John O'Keefe's arm, based on the statistics and his weight of being 216 pounds, you knew that his arm weight would be 11.8 pounds, didn't you?
Yes.
And you knew that he was 6'1" tall.
Yes.
When you decided to choose an arm in this case, you didn't choose the arm closest to his weight, did you?
It was representative enough, yes.
It was representative enough.
It was close enough, yes, sir.
Close enough. Wouldn't you want to get an arm most closely related to his actual weight?
I don't know that you can have custom-made ATDs.
You probably can't custom make them, but they have one that's 12 pounds. You know that, don't you?
Are you referring to the 95th percentile?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
So there's a 12-pound arm. Mr. O'Keefe's is 11.86 according to the statistics. You know that, right?
Yes.
You looked it up.
Yes.
You didn't tell us that on direct, though, did you?
I don't believe I was asked that.
No. Instead of choosing the 12-pound weight, didn't you?
It was about 10 pounds, yes.
No, it wasn't about 10 pounds. It was less than 10 pounds. Let's be exact. You're a scientist. Let's be as precise as possible when we're talking about data. It was less than 10 pounds, wasn't it?
I think according to the spec sheet, I think it's 9.4 pounds total.
How about 9.38? You keep coming up a little bit. 9.38 pounds.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained in that form.
May I approach?
Yes.
Showing you a photograph. Is that a photograph of your materials in this case?
Yes.
And in that photograph, it shows the arm that you used in your studies, doesn't it?
Correct.
And it shows that that arm weighs 9.38 pounds, doesn't it?
Yes.
And that is less than the 11.86 pounds of Mr. O'Keefe's arm, yes?
Correct, yes.
You didn't put that photograph in your PowerPoint to make it clear to everybody you were using an arm that was a much lesser weight, were you?
No, I didn't put that photograph.
I'd like to move this to evidence, please.
Okay. Any objection, Mr.
No,
Jackson?
Your Honor.
Court's permission, I'd like to show this to the jury.
Just give us a minute, let Madam Court Reporter mark it.
Exhibit 217.
Yes, now you can put it.
This is the arm that you used in all of your videos, right?
Correct, yes.
And you can see, could you zoom in, Ms. Gilman, on the weight? 9.38 pounds.
Yes.
There's a bigger difference between 9.38 and 11.86 than there is 12 and 11.86, isn't there?
Correct, yes.
So when you do the math, and have you done the math before on this? When you do the math, it's 26% difference, isn't it?
In terms of more force?
No, of mass, weight, 26% difference,
Okay.
right?
I'm going to trust you, yeah.
Well, do you have a calculator?
Don't
I do.
trust him.
Can you do it?
Do
Sure.
not trust him.
And before you do that, you took this from Mr. O'Keefe's 6'1". You used a crash test dummy that, what is the height on it?
The ATD, I believe, is 5'7".
About Randy. But let's talk about this. 5'9". You said 5'7". It's actually 5'9".
Sorry, 5'9", yes.
5'9". And it's 170 pounds?
171, I believe.
Mr. O'Keefe's not 170 pounds.
No, not his whole
He
body.
wasn't 5'9".
Correct.
Okay. So when you do the math and you take the 9.38 pounds based on the 171-pound doll, and you look at the percentage, doesn't it come out to 5.48% total body weight?
Brennan.
Yes.
Okay. And so the difference, when you look at it, it's a 26.3% difference from his actual weight, isn't it?
Correct, yes.
And so I'm probably at the 6th grade level on this, but isn't it very basic that the more something weighs,
At least he
the slower
admits
something
it.
has to go to have damage? And if something weighs less, the other part that collides and the force has to go faster?
The force is going to be greater if the mass is greater.
So if you throw a 5-pound rock into a window, you can throw it slower to cause the same damage if you have a 2-pound rock.
I don't know if I agree with that analogy.
Well, you agree that based on the 26% difference, in order to actually be accurate, to be specific, to be scientific, you then have to adjust the speeds that you presented on your demonstrations, and you have to reduce the speed by 26%.
I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with that. You think that having a lighter arm, so what you're telling us is having a lighter arm would cause the exact same amount of damage to the taillight studies as a heavier arm. Is that what you're telling us?
Well, if you look at, for instance, the 29 mile an hour impact test, that's significantly more kinetic energy. So the momentum of a 6,000 pound vehicle moving at 24 miles an hour, 29 miles an hour, that's going to overcome whatever the mass is that it's hitting at that point.
You're sidestepping my question.
Objection.
Ask a question, Mr. Brennan. Just ask a question, no more.
My
comments.
question is, are you telling us that having a lighter arm does not impact the damage in these tests as opposed to using the heavier arm?
Certainly not in the field test, no.
And so you disagree that when you 0.3%,
Sorry, what was your question?
do you agree there was a 26.3% difference in the arm weight that you used opposed to John O'Keefe?
Yes, the hybrid arm compared to Mr. O'Keefe's arm, yes.
And you are denying that there needs to be an adjustment to your calculation because the mass, MA, is different. You're denying that.
I think, again, if you're, and this is something Dr. Rentschler, I believe, will
No, I want
touch
to talk
on.
to you. I don't want to talk to Dr. Rentschler.
Well, because when you're addressing the forces for injury and the mechanisms for injury, right, you would account for the difference in the weight.
So you're saying that it makes no difference that you use an arm that was 26% lighter. Is that what you're saying to us?
No, I don't think it would have made a significant difference, especially if you look at, for instance, if you're looking at the 95th percentile hand and the 50th percentile hand, they both weigh 1.25 pounds. They're the exact same weight. There's about a pound more roughly in the forearm and a pound more distributed in the upper arm.
But that's not my question.
Does that mean he's not going to cross Dr. Rentschler? Does he even realize what he just said? He is so mad right now. He is so mad right now. He can't even. His expert played dress up and played with finger paint. His expert actually figured out if a car's taillight could be destroyed in the same way if it hit an arm. He's so mad right now.
It's not whether it's significant or not. I'm asking you, are you saying under oath right now that a 26.3% difference in relations in that study, it would have no impact at all?
The calculations, yes, but in terms of the damage, no, I don't think that 1 pound difference, when we're talking about something that's 6,000 pounds, striking something that's, quite frankly, whether it's 9.4 or it's 11 something, it's not, you're not going to get a difference in the damage.
So why not just have a 3-pound arm up there?
Well, I think that's unreasonable, sir.
What's that?
I think that's unreasonable.
What's the difference? It's a 6,000-pound car, according to you. What's the difference between 26% and 40%?
Well, I don't even know that I agree with your percentage because, again, you're accounting for the whole part of the arm that goes up to here, which we did not strike that part.
It's, how much lighter? 2 pounds and what? How many ounces?
Sorry, what was your question?
How much lighter is it, the arm that you used?
In terms of a percentage?
No, in terms of weight. The weight. 9.38.
Right.
Mr. O'Keefe, 11.86, right?
About 2.48.
And you're saying that makes no difference? None.
Not in the observed damage at those speeds, no.
Why didn't you use a 5-pound arm, sir?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Why didn't you use a 5-pound arm?
Again, I don't know that they make a 5-pound ATD arm.
You didn't tell us when you did these studies, you didn't disclose in your PowerPoint that you used an arm that was much lighter than Mr. O'Keefe's arm, did you?
I don't know that it was, I didn't give the weight in the presentation, no.
Let's take a look at some of your testing. The first one was at 10 miles per hour, test A. You remember that test, right?
Yes.
Now, 10 miles per hour, if you had taken 26% off, would you agree it would change the actual speed from 10 miles per hour to 7.67 miles per hour? If you did out the math, if you did it specifically, accurately, precisely, would you agree, using the wrong arm, you make the deductions and the calculations, that 10 mile per hour test would actually be 7.67 miles per hour? Would you agree with that?
I would allow that.
No, because again, the arm is going to get accelerated up to that speed. So that the speed would still, that mass would still be accelerated up to 10 miles per hour. Same thing in the vehicle testing. It's going to be, given that weight difference, it's going to be accelerated up to that speed.
Now, can we see the video of test A, please? Now, this is your study, 10 miles per hour, you claim, with a arm that is 9.38 pounds, correct?
Correct.
Mr. O'Keefe, 11.86 pounds, yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now, this light on the end of this, you're trying to replicate the light on the back of a Lexus?
Correct.
If a Lexus at 6,000 pounds hits a person, the Lexus isn't stopping automatically, is it?
No, it would move at a common velocity with the arm.
It would continue to push forward through the arm, yes?
It may, yes.
And the arm can push into the light before the body turns, yes?
I don't know that I agree with that, no.
If the light on the Lexus, not at this speed, but if the light on a Lexus was broken or breaks and it hits the arm, it's not going to bounce off the arm, it's going to push through, isn't it?
It's going to move at a common velocity with the arm.
And that will move not only the arm, it will move the person's body, won't it?
It may, yes.
It may push the body, it may throw the body.
I don't know about throw.
And the light, if broken, will continue to press against the arm until there's separation. Isn't that fair to say?
It could, in some instances, again, it could bounce.
It could, because it's not always the same. It's a dynamic process, isn't it?
It is dynamic,
You
yes.
could do the test many times and get very different results, couldn't you?
I don't know that I agree with that.
Would you get the same result every time?
I think you would certainly get similar results.
Every time.
If you had the exact same impact location and speeds, yes.
Well, that's my point. What if the impact location moved a little bit? Could it change?
Well, is Dr. Welcher changing? I don't know if, again, I was relying on what he provided
This
in his
isn't on
report.
Dr. Welcher. I'm asking you.
Objection. It is on Dr.
No, it's not.
Okay, so jurors, disregard that exchange between counsel. Next question.
If the body position changed, you may get a different result. Isn't that fair to say?
I was going after what Dr. Welcher had represented in his report analysis. So we did testing to analyze his orientation that he had demonstrated in his report.
You don't like that question either?
Objection.
Sustained.
If the body position changed, it could change the result. True?
I don't know what you mean by body position. Do you mean the whole body, the arm? What part of the body?
Let's start with the arm. If the arm position changes, it could change the result, couldn't it?
Well, I'm not aware of any other orientation that Dr. Welcher provided in his analysis report as to alternative orientations.
If the arm position changed, could it change the result?
Yes, I mean, I presume if you don't have your arm on the taillight, then yes, you'll probably get a different result.
What if it's bent in a different way? Could that change the result?
Again, I haven't reviewed anything that indicates that there was a different orientation that Dr. Welcher suggested.
You're a scientist, right? You can think. I'm asking you. Just a general question over here. If you bend the arm, could it change the result?
It could.
Thank you.
Quit
Okay.
being a jerk, Brennan.
When a pedestrian is struck, they are not held stationary on a harness, are they?
No.
In this case, the crash test dummy is on a harness,
Yes, he's supported.
strapped
Yes.
by its hips or pelvis.
Yes.
That's not real life. That's not how a pedestrian is usually when they're hit, right? They're not strapped to a harness, are they?
No, and again, the purpose of this test was to evaluate the arm. We're not looking at the whole body here with this test.
And when we talk about injuries, part of injuries is not just the impact, it's the drag, in this case, from the car, isn't it?
It could be, yes.
But when you put the dummy on a harness, restricting or restraining its movement, it is not going to replicate hitting somebody and their movement, including the drag, is it?
I don't know that I agree with that because it will replicate, again, when we're talking about that impact pulse of 10 milliseconds, it will replicate that. And that's ultimately what we're after is what's happening in that 10 millisecond window in terms of the contact and the damage and the acceleration.
I know that's what you're after. What I'm asking you is when you end it, when the light stops, unlike a Lexus, and the dummy is stationary, unlike a person, it affects the aftermath, the drag and the push after, doesn't it?
Yes, the kinematics would be different, likely if it's not restrained like that.
In real life, pedestrian usually is not restrained, are they?
Correct.
In real life, a 6,000-pound Lexus, upon contact with an arm, doesn't usually stop on a dime, does it?
No.
Could I have the photo from test A, please? And so there is no break, but there is a crack in this light that was a result of this experiment where this light hits that restrained dummy, yes?
Yes.
And this is at 10 miles per hour in your world and 7.67 if you take off the 26% weight.
Objection.
Stand just to that point.
We can move to test B, please. Now this test B, a similar test, it has the same limitations, doesn't it? This dummy is restrained at the pelvis.
Yes.
Could you show the video, please?
Oh.
There's two videos. We can see the first one.
Like, why is the screen black?
And was the dummy restrained by its head as well?
Yes.
Was its arm restrained in any way?
It was tethered, but it was free to move.
This test you have is 17 miles per hour with the arm that's 9.38 pounds. Mr. O'Keefe, 11.86 pound arm. If you consider that 26% difference, wouldn't it be fair to say that this test, rather than replicate 17 miles per hour, would actually replicate 12.6 miles per hour?
Objection.
No, can you answer that?
Not the way it's phrased, no.
And so looking at this test, test B, which you say is 17 miles per hour, can can you do a calculation for the 26% difference, or is that you don't think is fair?
I don't think it'd be a fair way to characterize it. Again, if no matter what the mass is there, if you're accelerating it, if you're impacting at 17, that arm is going to move at 17.
Well, not just the movement, the damage. If this arm was 5 pounds, do you think the test would have the same exact result?
If it's 5 pounds,
Yes,
probably would be less damage.
it'd be less damage. So to get this amount of damage, you would have to increase the weight, right?
Sorry, what was your question?
To get this amount of damage, you couldn't use a 5-pound arm. There'd be less damage with a 5-pound arm.
Correct.
Right, because the less weight you use, the less damage at that speed. That's
Correct.
basically how it works.
Correct.
Okay. So, in this test, if we could run that back again, you have a restrained dummy at the hips and the head. There's no follow-through of the light or the body that's attached to that arm, correct? And at this speed, you can see the shards of taillight. You can see them move.
When you say move, you mean just
Not stationary.
yeah, I mean they're moving from the taillight as they break.
Detached from the taillight.
Correct, they're
And
broken.
that could create a debris field, yes?
Yes.
And you can see them floating in the air, some of them actually floating and then touching the sweater. Do you see that?
Possibly. Some of it might be, again, some of that polyurethane foam.
Yeah, some might be. And why don't we play it again so we can see clearly? Some might be taillight shards too, right?
Yeah, that they didn't find till days after the accident.
That black object spinning, that's not poly foam, is it?
No, it would not be.
That'd be taillight shard, right?
Correct.
And so, even at this speed, you can see in this type of collision, there is significant, bless you, significant amount of taillight shards that are broken from the taillight and spewing into the air, yes?
I think on the, one of those, I think I showed the fragment that were quite, there was 4 pieces from the taillight, from the lens.
If you could put that back a little so Dr. Wolf can see it again to the point of the collision.
If he sees it again, it's not going to change his answer, stupid.
Go ahead. Stop. You can see microscopic are now breaking off from that taillight and being littered into the air, aren't they?
Yes, there are pieces coming off.
If we can go to test C, please. Now, in test C, you actually use only an arm. Isn't that fair to say?
Correct.
You don't use a body or a crash test dummy.
No.
You don't, in fact, this is not the 12-pound arm either. This is the 9.38-pound arm.
Correct.
And when you do this test, you have the arm, it's basically just an object suspended in the air, isn't it?
Yes.
And you said, I think on direct examination, I think you said that as if it was dumb. Is that your testimony?
The dummy or not,
Streamer
what's in
wrote
direct
you put
contact is
that
going to
on
be
the
the same.
screen.
Well, the fact that it's just floating up in the sky like that, it's very different than if it was attached to a person or a dummy, isn't it?
In terms of how it moves immediately after the impact, yes.
Not just how it moves, as far as the impact. Isn't it different?
I don't know that I agree with that.
Okay. Well, wouldn't you say that in addition to the arm, if you had another 200 plus pounds being held down by gravity, that would affect the force that's acting on the arm?
Well, the arm again is going to be accelerated, but the center of mass of the body is not going to see that acceleration.
Have you testified before in this case about the importance of the full body and gravity?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Have you testified before in this case about the effect of gravity and the full force of a body as opposed to just an arm?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember whether you thought it important on a previous time you testified that there is significance to the arm would be attached to a 200-plus pound body and there was the issue of gravity that would affect force?
From what I recall, I think that had to deal with whether or not the pedestrian would be projected based upon an interaction with the arm or a full-on center of gravity hit, right? When we're only hitting the arm, we're not hitting the CG of the body.
You did test B, and you claim it was at 17 miles per hour, test B,
Correct.
and we saw the damage. This is at 15 miles per hour, test C. Could you play this, please? It might be a delay, so you could fast forward a little bit, please. How many times do you think that arm spun around?
I don't know.
That's not what would happen to a person who got hit. Their arm wouldn't spin through their body like that, would it?
Correct, it
Their
would
arm
not.
wouldn't spin that many times.
No.
There'd be the pull of their body weight, yes?
I'm sorry, what was your
There'd be
question?
the pull of their body weight.
The body weight, yeah, would affect the movement afterwards, yeah.
Gravity, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. And so there's a reason why you do this test at 15 miles per hour. Is there a photo related to this, to the damage to the taillight? There is a reason why at 15 miles per hour the damage is much different than the other tests at 17 miles per hour, isn't there?
Correct.
Right, because at 17 miles per hour you have a dummy that is strapped by a harness in its pelvis. When it's hitting the arm, it's affecting it much differently than just a arm floating in air. Yes?
No, I don't agree with that. The primary reason there's a difference in the damage is because of the amount of the arm that's outstretched and interacting with the taillights. There's a difference in those two tests.
And so the body and the weight of the body, you're saying, has nothing to do with the amount of damage.
Not in these tests, no.
So when somebody gets hit, does the body weight have anything to do with the damage? Not just the area that gets hit. Does the body weight affect it at all?
Not in terms of the impact, like the rest of the body, it's not going to matter if, for instance, only my hand, like in that last test we just saw, it was the hand and the wrist, how much my stomach weighs, my head weighs, is not going to affect the damage to that taillight in that interaction.
And by the way, this test, you said 15 miles per hour. If you consider the 26%, you're only at 11.1 miles per hour. Is that the right math?
Again, I don't agree with that because if you look at the data and you integrate the acceleration data to get the speed, right, that we saw in those plots, the hand basically gets up to, I think it was 14 or 15 miles an hour. It reaches that common.
F, you place the,
Correct.
and when you test and you put it more behind the vehicle, this is more of a full impact than it is a clipping, isn't it?
Certainly, yes.
And when you put this dummy behind the car, this was not a legitimate crash test dummy. It was a different type of dummy, wasn't it?
Yes, it's called a Rescue Randy.
A Rescue Randy. And that is not typically the type of dummy that you're going to use for crash tests, is it?
I wouldn't agree with that.
When you did the Rescue Randy and crash test F, did you use the 12-pound arm or did you stick with the 9.38?
The hybrid arm wasn't attached to the Rescue Randy. And
The hybrid arm was not. Is that what you said, or it was?
it was not. No, not in the full impact test.
Okay, so what was the weight of the arm on the Rescue Randy?
I don't know specifically the weight of the arm. I know that the total mass of the Rescue Randy was 200 pounds.
Isn't the weight of the arm important when you're talking about impact with the arm?
I don't think relative to the rest of the mass of the body.
So now the mass of the body counts, but before it didn't.
Objection.
Sustained enough.
Okay. If we can see in test F, we have some photographs. Start with the first one, if you could widen that, please. Now, this is a direct hit.
Correct.
Is this simply a photo or a video? Could we go to the next one, please? So the rescue Randy's placed much further in the car than the other type of test that would be more similar to a clip, yes?
Correct.
Next photo, please. Okay. And that is the result of the impact?
Correct.
Do you see the debris field?
Yes.
Is it near rescue Randy?
Some of it is, yes.
Yeah, it's spread out a little bit, yes?
That's fair, yes.
But it's not right on his body. It's a distance from his body, yes?
There may be some, I can't tell from this photo, there may be some around his body, but yes, there's also debris close to the Lexus as well.
And could we, and this is the demonstration where you didn't turn on the videotape, so we don't have a videotape?
Correct, we had the false start, yep.
What's that?
We had the false start.
The false start. Is there another picture after this? Those clothes. Are there holes or tears in the clothes?
Yes, there's damage that's consistent with road rash when clothing or a body makes contact with the pavement and is grinding into the pavement.
Pavement's hard. Right?
Yes.
How about frozen ground, frozen dirt?
Is that hard?
Yeah.
I suppose it can be.
Well, do you have any doubt whether frozen ground in the Northeast in the winter is hard as a rock?
I haven't done any analysis to assess that.
And so seeing holes in those clothes is what you would expect after Randy hits that hard ground, right?
Are you talking about frozen grass or paved?
I'm talking about Randy right now. These holes in the clothes are what you would expect after Randy hits the hard ground, correct?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that. Is that what you'd expect?
Your Honor, I need a motion.
All right, jurors, feel free to stand up and stretch.
So holes in the clothes is what you would expect after Randy hits the ground, yes?
If there is prolonged sliding contact with the asphalt, certainly you could expect to see tearing, large holes, material fraying, and even transfer of pavement material onto the clothing.
You've done no studies on hard ground like a front yard, have you?
In terms of a pedestrian sliding on the grass,
In clothing tears, yes.
no, sir.
And if you could go back one slide. You see the debris field is near but not on Randy? Can you tell if there's any small pieces or microscopic pieces on or in Randy's clothes in the study? Did you look?
No.
If I could go to test E, please. Test E, you cite as having a speed of 24 miles per hour, correct?
Correct.
And that's with a arm that is 9.38 pounds. Yes?
Correct.
And to remind you, Mr. O'Keefe's arm would be about 11.86 pounds. Yes?
Correct.
If you would reduce 26%, you'd be at 17.8 miles per hour, wouldn't you?
Objection.
Are you doing the math, Dr. Wolf?
I don't agree with his characterization.
Okay, next question.
I understand you don't agree, but if you took 26% off the 24 miles per hour, you would come out to 17.8 miles per hour, wouldn't you?
I'm going to allow that. I'm going to allow that.
That's what the calculation would yield.
Okay. On test E, there are some differences between your test and what would happen in real life. For example, there is a harness, correct?
Correct.
And the harness prevents the dummy from being thrown naturally.
Correct.
The harness affects your ability or one's ability to see the study and see what the trajectory would be after impact, correct?
Well, that wasn't the purpose of the study, to assess the
I say we hit Brennan going backwards at 24 miles per hour and see what happens.
trajectory, sir.
I understand. I'm not trying to criticize, but it affects the ability to see the trajectory when the dummy's on a harness, doesn't it?
Turtle Boy tried it too and said it was very, very hard to do.
Yes.
Could we put up the first video, please? A photo 115, if we can start with. If you could stop it right there. And you can see the feet aren't as firmly planted on the ground as a person would be in most circumstances because of that harness, yes?
Correct.
And that affects gravity.
Gravity?
Well, when the car hits, the gravity, the weight of the dummy is less because it's held up by a harness, isn't it?
Right. So gravity really is, again, is suspended at this point, just above the ground.
The arm that's extended, is there a glass in that hand?
No, there's not more weight in the hand.
So there's no object in the hand in any of these tests?
No, because ultimately what would happen is because of the accelerometer being mounted on the palm of the hand, if you had a glass there, it would interfere with those measurements.
I understand why you didn't do it, but would you say it's fair to say that if a glass was in the dummy's hand on these tests, it could affect or change the damage?
Well, if you add another, I think that the drinking glass we utilized for the testing last year, I think was 0.7 pounds. So if you add another 0.7 or pound to the hand, that hand contacts the liftgate taillight, you certainly could see damage to that taillight, which we certainly didn't see on the subject vehicle.
So weight does kind of matter, right?
It can, yes.
Not just 0.7 pounds, the 2.5 pounds can matter too. Weight matters.
Yes.
Because that's kind of what we were talking about for the last half hour. Weight matters in these tests, doesn't it?
Correct, but you can't look at this in isolation just between damage, and you can't separate it from the injuries, right? What's going to happen to the body in terms of the injuries in a 24-mile-an-hour impact?
Does weight matter?
In terms of the force?
And so we see this dummy with the arm stretched out, correct?
Correct.
Okay, can we bring this back? Stop right there. This isn't approved crash test dummy, is it?
The Rescue Randy portion, no.
No.
It's not instrumented like a hybrid.
Is the arm the hybrid 3?
Yes, the arm is the hybrid 3.
So you took, in test F, you didn't put the hybrid 3 on the Randy, but on this one you did?
No, because you risk these AT devices can range from $100,000 to $150,000, and you run the risk of destroying that equipment in a test like that.
So in test F, did you put the hybrid on the Randy, or did you keep Randy's original arm
It's just the Rescue Randy in the last test.
on F?
Correct.
This one,
I
you have the
don't
hybrid arm
think-
on Randy.
Correct.
So you're switching up between tests, what pieces you're using, aren't you?
I would say adding, but
Well, adding and subtracting doesn't have two arms. There's one off, one on. One's Randy and one's hybrid. So you're switching.
yes.
Different result.
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Okay.
Are you trying to say a different result between test F and this test? Because they're not the same test.
Oh, I understand. I understand. If we can have this come back a little bit more. Okay, and let it run. Stop. You can see the shattered taillight moving, and most of it's moving in the same direction, isn't it?
Yes.
And that's what creates a debris field after a collision, doesn't it?
Yes. I mean, components will break off and fall to the ground. Yes.
Now, since Randy is on a harness, he's not going to be thrown the same way as it would happen in real life, is he?
Correct. And that wasn't the purpose of this
I
test, sir.
understand. When you chose 24 miles per hour without the 26% deduction, which would make it 17.8 miles per hour, when you chose 24 miles per hour, it's because you had looked at the tech stream data that had been taken from the defendant's Lexus, right?
Correct.
And when you looked at that data, you understood that during that event, 10 seconds of data is captured, yes?
Yes.
But that doesn't define the whole event, does it?
That only encompasses what was recorded.
And you said you chose 24 miles per hour because that was about the speed at the end of that 10 seconds.
Correct.
You do realize at the end of that 10 seconds, the car, the defendant's Lexus, was going faster. It was still accelerating, don't you?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it.
From what I recall, the last data point, I believe the throttle was still around 74%.
Well, ARCA specializes in tech stream data, don't they?
Yes.
Okay. So you are looking at that, you would agree that at the end of the 10 seconds, the defendant's Lexus was increasing in speed.
Well, we don't know, again, beyond that data point, what the data is.
At the end of that 10 seconds, the car was going up, not down, in speed, yes?
Correct.
And you can't tell how much longer that car traveled for after that 10 seconds, can you?
Correct. We don't know.
So when you chose the 24 miles per hour, it was just based on a data point. It wasn't based on you believing that there was an impact at a certain speed, was it?
No, and the triggering event itself it's not a collision by definition, and nowhere in that data can you parse out whether or not any contact even occurred.
We know that.
Okay.
The point is, you can't tell how fast the vehicle was going if it was in a collision from that data, can you?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
If that vehicle was in a collision, you wouldn't be able to tell from that data what the speed was at the time of the collision.
If contact allegedly occurred at some point in that data set, no, you would not be able to pick a row in that data and say, this is where the collision occurred.
Or after that data set, you would have no idea.
Outside of the data?
Yes.
No.
Okay. And so when you look at this experiment that you did, if you were to add, you said 24 miles per hour, but that's not considering the 26%. If you were to add 7 more miles per hour to this collision, would you expect more damage to that right taillight?
Potentially, yes, but you're certainly getting into the realm of injury at that point.
I'm not asking about that. I'm asking you a simple question about damage. If you were to add 7 miles per hour onto this test here, would you expect more damage to that right rear taillight?
Yes.
Okay, can you finish the video? Okay, now I want to ask you some questions. You can stop there. I want to ask you some questions. Can you bring it back to right before the collision, please? Speed changes the result of this, doesn't it?
In terms of the impact speed?
Yes, the impact speed can change the result of this, of the damage to the right rear taillight, can it?
Correct. It can, yes.
Did you take any pictures of the debris field after the impact and damage in this testee? Did you take any photographs of the debris field?
I believe so, yes.
Was it included in your materials that you provided us?
It should have been in all of the test materials that was provided, yes.
Was the debris field within a certain range? Was it within a certain circle, 10, 20, 30 feet?
That sounds about right.
And so a debris field, although it might scatter, it almost forms kind of a ring, doesn't it?
It can, yes.
And it can form that ring away from where the body lands, can't it?
It can, yes.
And in this test, which you say is 24 miles per hour, without the reduction to 17.8 miles per hour, in this test, upon impact, there is a number of pieces of taillight that shatter, isn't there?
Yes.
Did you count how many?
About 19 pieces.
19 pieces. Could you move forward just a little bit? And when they break and scatter, some of them go up, some go down. Stop, please. Yes?
Correct, yes.
Some of them come in contact with Randy's arm. Yes?
Correct.
Now, Randy being on a harness, it's not like real life when the Lexus goes by, could continue to push him with it, right? He can't go with the car or the Lexus because he's on a harness. Yes?
Correct. He's not going to move from that position.
If you can move forward, do you see Randy's feet?
Yes.
See the right foot?
Yes.
It's twisting, right?
Correct.
Turning. Stop. Could you show the photo of the sneaker, please? When you were reaching your conclusions that you offered to the jury today, did you consider this photograph?
No.
Did you know that this sneaker was up against a curb in the area?
Yes.
And you didn't consider this at all?
Wasn't a part of my analysis.
Okay. You can go back to the video. You see the spin and rotation on the foot?
Yes.
Can you keep going? In the turn of the sneaker?
Yes.
Okay. I want you to go back, Ms. Gilman, please, to the point of impact. In your studies, you would agree there can be a clip of a pedestrian that causes significant damage to a taillight where the pedestrian incurs no lower body injuries whatsoever. That can happen, can it?
Well, I don't know that I would describe this as a clip to the arm. This is a full-on impact to the arm, so it's not a clip. Again, you saw it the 15 miles per hour. I think that's more analogous to a clip or a side swipe where the arm just kind of gets brushed out of the way. This, I would say, is a full-on impact to the arm.
Okay. To use your words, in a full-on impact like this, a pedestrian could be involved in a full-on impact causing that amount of damage to the taillight that's reflected in this video, but suffer no lower body injuries. Isn't that fair to say?
I don't address injuries, sir.
Well, let's play it forward. Do we ever see Randy's knees hit the car? Hips? Ribs?
His foot does.
I see the foot getting run over, but I don't think there was contact with the legs, no.
Would you agree that a pedestrian could be in this type of collision and suffer no lower body injuries based on your presentation here?
Sir, I don't address injuries. Biomechanics is not my area of specialty.
You said it's common in vehicle pedestrian collisions that there is some type of bumper displacement. You
Correct.
said that?
Yes.
Okay, bring it back to the beginning, please. Stop. Any bumper displacement in this collision?
In this specific test, no.
You said that on direct, you would expect that there would be some panel deformation. What does that mean?
So if for instance, let's say the hand is not contacting the taillight or a portion of it is contacting the lift gate, you could see deformation to that body paneling.
You said that you would expect to see, not that you could. What you said on direct is you would expect to see panel deformation.
Yes.
And you said in this case, there was none, right? Talking about the defendant's Lexus. You said, I would expect to, in this case, the defendant's Lexus, there was none. Let's watch your video. Play it ahead. Is there any panel deformation, stop, in this?
No, sir.
Okay. So when you said on direct examination, relative to the defendant's Lexus, you would expect panel deformation, there was none. There are examples, one that you gave us yourself, where there is a collision causing this amount of damage to a taillight where there's no panel deformation,
I'm going to allow it.
right?
If I recall, I think you're referring to my prior testimony in another proceeding where I had not conducted this testing yet. So ultimately, that's part of the reason why this testing was conducted, to evaluate that.
In this case, the damage to the right rear taillight, there's no panel deformation here, is there?
Correct, there's not.
When somebody is wearing a hat and they're involved in a collision similar to this, can their hat fall off?
Potentially.
Did you look at photos? Is there a photo of the hat, Ms. Gilman? Before you came to your opinions and conclusions, did you look at this photo and see a hat on the grass?
I did review this, yes.
And did you give any consideration when you did your tests to whether the hat would come off Randy or any crash test dummy when you hit it at that speed?
No, that wasn't a part of my evaluation.
Could I have photo 77, please? What's that, sir?
So I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the photograph, but there was some material transfer from the jeans that the rescue Randy was wearing.
And so as a result of that impact, there was scuffing from Randy's jeans onto this exemplar Lexus.
There was scuffing, yes.
Did you look at the defendant's photos of the defendant's Lexus to see
Yes.
if there was a,
Sorry.
it's okay, to see if there was any scuffing in a very similar area?
I don't recall it being at that portion of the vehicle close to the rear wheel.
Where did you see the scuffing on the defendant's Lexus?
I think there was some scrapes along the wraparound section of the bumper cover.
The bottom part?
Correct.
It's not claimed that's attributed to the collision, so I don't want you to consider that. But did you see other scuffs a little higher up on the Lexus?
I did, but I don't know that those could certainly just be normal wear and tear to the vehicle.
Is that normal wear and tear?
This, no, because we observed it in the test.
Could I have photo 153, please? Now, this is a photo without the hatch back up. This is just the lighting fixture, right?
Correct.
And could you close up in on that? And you would agree if you went 7 miles per hour faster, it would cause more damage to that, wouldn't it?
Yes.
When the taillight is shattered and it spreads through the air, does it have the potential to impale a person, for example, on their nose?
I wish she'd never said that.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
In your test,
Oh,
you saw that
my
upon
God.
collision,
Karen, why
there was
did
a
you say
scattering
that?
of taillight that broke.
She should have never said that because now Brennan is fixated on that piece of glass that was stuck in his nose that she pulled out and it bled. I really wish she had not said that in that interview. I wish she'd not done interviews at all. But that little piece of glass that was stuck in his nose, I would love to know where that came from. But like I said earlier, we're never going to know what happened. We're never going to know the truth. Like Hez said, this is going to go to their grave with them, whoever really knows the truth. But that stupid piece of glass in his nose, he just won't let it go.
From the fixture, correct?
Correct.
Would those shards, as they float or fly through the air, would they have the ability to impale a person on their face or even their nose?
I think that would be unlikely.
Now I want to hear what Rensler's going to say. But we
And
won't
finally,
get to
we've
him
discussed-
Monday now.
You now would agree with me that weight does matter, doesn't it?
It can if it's significant, yes.
We're not even going to get to redirect till Monday.
I have no further questions.
All right,
Oh!
Jackson.
Maybe we are.
Yes.
Can we, Dr. Wolf, go back to your power? Do you have your PowerPoint
Yes.
set up?
Your Honor, may I?
Yes.
You have that ready?
Yes.
Can you go forward? And I don't have them memorized, so bear with me. Can you go forward to test E? And I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions.
Okay.
Okay, if you could scroll through, keep going. If you'd please to the next slide, the next, the next. Can you, is this a video or is this a still photograph?
It is a video.
Is this at full speed or is this slow?
This is full speed.
Okay, can you go to the next slide? Okay, go back one. This is a test at what speed?
This is the Lexus moving in reverse, contacting at 24 miles an hour.
All right. Let's go ahead and play this at full speed if we could. Dr. Wolf, can you, that's awfully fast. Can you get to a point where you're moving frame by frame just at the point of contact?
Am I able to display my screen without doing the... Trying to see how I can get this to work.
If you could just move forward frame by frame rather than...
I don't know that I can in the... Oh, I missed it.
Okay. It may be more difficult than we thought. Let me ask you a couple of questions
Sure.
based on that. Did you review that video in slow motion as well as at full speed?
Yes, from a frame-by-frame perspective.
And in terms of a couple of different questions about that particular test, when there's impact with that right arm, what's the speed that the arm gets to upon impact?
In test E,
Right. If the car's going 24 miles an hour, what's the expected speed of the arm?
so the hand got up to a little over 24, the arm got a little over 21 miles per hour.
The debris that comes off of the taillight, the fragments, what speed would they be going at the point of impact when they crack and are released from the taillight?
At the impact speed or less.
In order to penetrate the sweatshirt and cut the arm across, would the shards have to be going faster or slower than the arm?
They would have to be going faster. If they're moving at a common velocity with the arm relative to it, they would somehow have to accelerate with more speed to jump beyond the arm, essentially.
Possible.
No.
Oh, good question.
I also want to ask you about do you have in your PowerPoint the photographs of the sweatshirt at the what you call the full-on impact, test F as in Foxtrot?
I don't have any of those in the PowerPoint.
Okay. The photo that you were shown, if I could ask Ms. Gilman to show the same photograph that she showed earlier of the subsequent to test F as in Foxtrot with the holes in the sleeve.
If she can.
If she may.
Can you do that, Ms. Gilman?
Very kind.
Thank you.
Dr. Wolf, you're shown just the left arm underneath the, whatever you call the dummy, Randy, right?
Yes.
Did Mr. Brennan show you the rest of the sweatshirt?
No.
What did the rest of the sweatshirt look like after this full-on impact when he was launched on the asphalt?
Mangled. So there was not only significant road rash to the clothing all over the torso section, the left arm, the right arm. There was holes in many different locations of various sizes. There was also just on the skin of the dummy, there was road rash on the face had been scraped. The torso had been scraped. So there was significant body damage to the torso as well.
Taking just the sweatshirt, separate of the sweatshirt, the front of the sweatshirt, were there holes, frays, and damage to the front?
It was covered in all of those, yes.
What about the back of the sweatshirt? Did that also have damage?
I don't believe the back, because I think he fell onto his stomach.
What about the other arm?
Yes, both arms did.
Were the holes and frays larger than the holes, the puncture holes that you saw on John O'Keefe's sweatshirt?
They were certainly larger and, again, spread out amongst the entirety of the sweatshirt, at least on the front side.
Was the damage to the sweatshirt that you saw in this experiment consistent with the damage or defects that you saw in just the right arm, those 9 puncture holes on the right arm of the sweatshirt of John O'Keefe?
No, this is distinctly road rash. There's a clear distinction between the two.
Looking at this particular set of
You should have taken pictures of the whole
defects
dummy.
in the arm, is that misleading in terms of its comparison to John O'Keefe's sweatshirt?
Sustain.
I don't know why he didn't take pictures of the entire sweatshirt that was on the dummy after the test.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask to approach very briefly on an issue we discussed earlier.
That was kind of not smart. Because the whole test, like the test that they did in the lab, and the whole reason why they put that sweatshirt on the dummy was to see if the shards that broke off would make the same holes. Because when Brennan put that picture up, I was like, whoops, that doesn't look good. Because what if some of the jury sees those holes and go, oh, well, yeah, that could have happened. That could be where the holes were from. So he probably should have taken a picture of the entire sweatshirt and how mangled up it was. I mean, I don't think he's lying. I'm just saying there are those types of people that need visual proof. You know what I mean? I kind of think, yeah, Brennan is making the Commonwealth look desperate. I still think that it would have been better if he'd taken a picture of the whole shirt to show all the road rash and everything all over the shirt to show that the holes in John O'Keefe's sweatshirt was only on the right arm. Just a little extra added insurance, you know. Y'all, I know StreamYard is messing with my audio, but when that mic is right in front of my face, y'all can't see me.
Yeah, Your Honor.
Yes.
You were
Right.
asked on cross-examination about some of the work that ARCA does on behalf of private lawyers, even insurance companies, correct?
Correct.
You were not hired by an insurance company. That's not who hired you on behalf of Ms. Reed or anything like that in the initial hiring, correct?
Good.
Correct. It was not an insurance company.
Thank you.
Yeah, because some people thought that Karen
A couple of more questions, if it's okay with the court, Your Honor, before we break.
Okay.
Thank you. You were asked several questions about the glass and whether or not the glass weighed in on your analysis of the damage to the rear tail light, correct?
Correct.
Did you consider that the glass on the rear bumper did not match the cocktail glass that was found close to John O'Keefe's body? Or were you aware of that?
I don't think initially I was aware that there was a difference between the glass cup that was found and the glass on the bumper.
You were asked a lot of questions about the difference in the weight of the arm, and I'm going by memory, 11.8 pounds statistically as it relates to Mr. O'Keefe versus 9.4 pounds. Have I got that right?
Approximately, yes.
Okay. Are you aware that anybody has ever measured the weight of just John O'Keefe's right arm?
I'm not aware of that, no.
When you were asked questions about whether or not his arm weighed 11.8 pounds, are you aware of anybody ever weighing just his arm?
No.
What is that based on? 11.8, where'd that come from?
I don't know.
Mr. Brennan mentioned the word statistic. Based on the statistics, his arm would weigh that much. Height, weight, etc.
Correct.
Does a statistic determine the actual weight of an arm?
No, not conclusive of what Mr. O'Keefe's arm weighed, no.
As you sit here, do you know whether his arm, John O'Keefe's right arm, if weighed by itself accurately, because pounds and apparently half pounds matter, if it weighed 11.8 pounds or if it weighed 9.4 pounds? Do you know?
I don't know, no.
Do you believe that your testing, the totality of your testing, was dependent upon those 2.5 pounds based on the weight of the hybrid 3, or at least the arm of hybrid 3, and the statistic of 11.8 pounds?
Sustained.
In what way does that differentiation of 2.5 pounds or approximately 2.5 pounds, In what way does that make a difference in terms of your testing?
It doesn't, and that's part of the reason why we increase the speeds to almost 30 miles an hour to look at, again, when you're bringing that much more kinetic energy from the vehicle, that's going to overcome any mass that arm has. If it, like I said, if it's a pound difference, 2 pound difference, the momentum of that vehicle moving at 30 miles an hour versus 24 miles an hour, again, kinetic energy is equal to 1/2 times the mass times the velocity squared. So even if you go up a few miles per hour, you're exponentially increasing that amount of kinetic energy from the vehicle.
You were also asked a series of questions reducing the speed of the testing by a certain percentage. Remember those questions?
Yes.
Did that make any sense to you mathematically? Okay.
Sustained in that form.
What effect, if you could tell us, well, let me ask it this way. Is the speed of the testing vehicle tethered in some way to the difference of that 2.5 pounds that Mr. Brennan was asking you about?
No, and again, as you saw throughout the PowerPoint, when that vehicle is coming in at 24 miles an hour, 29 miles an hour, at those speeds, that arm, when it makes contact, is going to get accelerated up to that velocity. It's just going to reach that common velocity. It's not going to, you're not going to somehow affect the vehicle speed due to that, the fact that the arm weighing 10 pounds roughly, and you've got 6,000 pounds. It's not going to somehow scrub off speed of the vehicle.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this point, I would be going through a couple of photographs and videos that might be a good place to do.
Okay, I understand you said it's on. So we'll start today. Dr. Wolf, you want to come on today? All right, jurors, one question I have for you. So I know a long time ago we told you that Thursday would be a half a day. I'm told that we're nearing the end of this case, so I'd like you to think about whether you're able to stay all day next Thursday. Think about it over the weekend. If you've made appointments or anything like that, I'm not asking you. But think about it, and on Monday, if you let Tony or Paul, whoever's with you Monday, if you have an issue with it, just let us know, and we'll do that.
What did she say?
Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case, please disregard it, let us know, and again, be very careful with your social media use. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
All rise to the court, please. Follow me.
Thank you, Your Honor.
What did she just say? Did she say,
And why don't I see counsel on scheduling?
did she just say, let me know if you want to go all day on Tuesday? How are they going to be done by Tuesday? They can't be done by Tuesday. Because someone please help me. Thursday, okay. I thought she said Tuesday, and I was fixing to say, what? Okay. Last time, did the state put on a rebuttal case last time? I don't remember. I don't remember them putting on a rebuttal case. But I'm pretty sure they're going to do it this time. So are they calling Wing for, well, no, because if that would be the defense's rebuttal. I'm confused. Are they calling Wing or not? I guess whenever I do have enough people that I have merch, my first shirt is going to have to be just a picture of me being confused and it's saying I'm confused because I say that all the time. I'm just so confused all the time. So Thursday's going to be a half a day again, but the defense is going to maybe rest on Tuesday. So they're going to finish Wolf on Monday, and then probably going to do Rentschler next. What are they going to do with Wing? Is he going to be in their case in chief? And is the Commonwealth going to put on a rebuttal? And did they do a rebuttal last time? Because I don't remember them putting on a rebuttal last time. See, the problem with my brain is that I don't understand physics at all. In high school, I loved science. And I knew I wanted to be a nurse. And I was in regular biology, and I was making straight A's in biology to the point that I would skip assignments because I had an A in the class. If I didn't want to do something, I just wouldn't do it because I had an A. So they put me into the advanced biology class to challenge me more, and I loved it. So the plan was just to do all science, as much science as I could. So my senior year, my junior year, I failed half of geometry. So I actually went to summer school, a half semester of summer school between my junior and senior year, so I wouldn't have to take a math class my senior year because I hated math. So then my senior year, I took physics, and I was like, why is there math in my science class? I don't understand this. Why is there math? There's not supposed to be math in science. What is happening? And I failed it. And so I didn't go back for the second semester. I ended up taking a second semester of band class because I didn't need the only credit I needed in my senior class was another English credit. I could have dual enrolled in college. That's what my mom wanted me to do, but super controlling, and it was the only thing I could control was to stay in high school and not go to college early. So I stayed in high school. Yeah, the thing with geometry, it wasn't like the shapes and the angles and the that stuff. It was the proofs. It was where you had to write out why the angles lined up or whatever, the writing out the reason why it made sense. That was the stuff that threw me. But I had a hard time with math in elementary school. And then in high school, when we got to algebra and we got to negative numbers, I was like, wait a minute, nobody told me numbers went the other way. What are you talking about? Why is there negative numbers? My whole life, you always said it was 0 up, and now there's negative numbers. It's just like math just always seemed. I know some people love math. Some people are like, math is everywhere. Yeah, proofs. It was the proofs. Yeah, the proofs. That's what made me fail geometry, is the proofs. But math is everywhere. And I did have to learn math in nursing school. I failed algebra. No, I did not fail. I made a low grade in algebra Because, like, in college, a D is failing, even though it's not an F, it's a D, but it's not a passing grade. So I ended up in college taking math for applied health sciences or something like that. So it taught you how to do math for health care and for chemistry and for those kind of things. So that's the math I had to take in college in order to prepare for nursing school. I can't do math. And then, so like we had to take this math test to calculate medications. And the first semester, we could get some things wrong, but by the end of nursing school, we had to pass it with 100% accuracy. And then once you get out working in nursing, the pharmacy does all the calculations for you. You don't even have to learn it, but they make sure you know it just in case something happens and you have to calculate it yourself, which you never do. Whatever. The only time I ever used it was in pediatrics because there were times where you had to calculate a dose according to their weight when there was only like a standard dose in. There were like these machines that we got doses out of when a patient first came to their room before the pharmacy calculated things by their weight. If we would have to get them, like they just got to the floor and we'd have to get a medication out of that machine, we would have to calculate it to their weight before the pharmacy had all their medications ready. That was the only time. And that was just easy, super, super easy algebra. So, and that's still, I can still do that kind of algebra, but that's it. Any other math, I'm adding, subtracting, that's it. Yeah, the babies are little. They get a teeny, teeny, tiny amount. Kilogram per milligram or milligram per kilogram. Yeah. We weigh the babies per kilograms and then it's milligram per kilogram or mig per kig is what we said. So many migs per kig. Yeah, the babies were fun. If all of your patients were babies, ooh, that was a rough night. Because there were some parents that were like, and they'd be there too. They'd be kicked up in the chair watching TV. And there was a Wendy's downstairs. They go down there, they get their Wendy's. They'd be all kicked back in the little recliner watching TV, eating their Wendy's. And they'd be like, you gonna change their diaper? You gonna give them a bath? I'm like, who bathes them at home? They would get mad at us. And they'd just be sitting right there next to their kid and get mad at us because their babies hadn't had a bath. Yes, exactly, Judy. Exactly. Math. I hate math. Hate it, hate it, hate it. I mean, to this day, I sit down and play Uno with my family. I got my calculator there to add up our scores. I mean, I could do it in my head, but I still use calculator. I don't know why we're at sidebar when court's over, but stop. Because 9 times out of 10, when I stop, there's something else. Math, the devil's tool. I've often thought I should have been a pharmacist, but I guess that would have a lot of math in it as well, since the pharmacy did our calculations for us. But also, I think a lot of times it's just counting how many pills go in a bottle, too. I imagine in school, though, they make them do a lot of calculations. Oh, Lori Daybell's getting in trouble, y'all. I don't want to watch her trial. I watched some recaps from the last one. I think she's a POS. I don't want anything to do with anybody that uses religion as an excuse for bad acts. Because you guys know my faith is very important to me. And God doesn't tell anybody to do the horrible, awful things that she's done. I'm sorry, but that's just the way I look at things. God is not going to tell you to do stuff like that. Um, if somebody's doing something wrong, God will take care of it. You just leave it alone and let God take care of it. And so I don't have any use for her. But I did watch the recaps last time because she was pro se. I just wanted to see how much of a fool she made of herself. I didn't start watching the recaps until that one lady that dated her ex told her to, what did she tell her? Get over herself or something? That's when I started watching the recaps. So she's having a fit. I heard oh, Jill's back. What was it?
Thank you, Teresa.
Oh, okay. They're done. Um what was it? She had a fit because she was sick or something and wanted the trial continued. I was gonna watch I don't know if it was court TV or what it was. I was gonna watch it and something happened and I didn't watch it. It was like just a clip from the hearing where she wanted a continuance because she was sick and she, I guess, like flipped out in the courtroom because they wouldn't give her a continuance. But but Judy just said she was removed from court after she had an argument with the judge. So yeah, I kind of like drama. Other people's drama, not my drama. I try to stay away from my drama. When drama starts, I'm like, nope, I'm out. And I've cut off so many people in my life because of drama. Good point, Jill. Good point. Now, I feel bad for her son. Colby, is that his name? Because he has to, well, I mean, I guess he doesn't have to. Like, he's cut her off too. But he was at the last trial. But he said, like, he debated about whether or not to go, but he said it was like, it freed him up. Like, he doesn't even think of her as his mom anymore. But I don't know. But yeah, when people, I don't, I'm not into like astrology and stuff, but I've heard that's a like a Capricorn trait that, you know, we're real sweet and we're empathic and we love people, but you do us wrong and that's it. Forget it. You're gone. And it's true in my case. I mean, I give second chances and third and fourth, but there comes a point like you keep stepping on my nerves and then you're gone. But like I did that with my stepdaughters and then they finally realized she's not playing and then they're back and they're treating me like they're supposed to treat me. And why do you find it disturbing? I've only watched his videos talking about her and the trial and his reactions to the trial. That's how I found it. I guess they put one of his videos in my feed because I had watched something about her trial, I guess. I don't know cuz I didn't even know he had a YouTube channel. What, are you a Capricorn too? but no, like but I forgive, like, if you were to come back and be like, make a gesture that was sincere, like it wasn't going to happen again and you were going to change, then I'd let you back. Like with my stepkids, like they made an overture, like they wanted to be part of the family again. Like they never with their dad, because I was like, I'm not going to. And are you a Hufflepuff? You're a Hufflepuff, right? Like I told Travis, I'm like, they're your girls. I'm not going to come between you and them at all. They're your daughters. I'm just not going to hang out with them anymore because they don't treat me well. But so, they would stop by, they'd call him, they'd stop by where he works and see him. And I told them, I'm like, you're welcome to come see him here at the house anytime you want. And they'd come see him. I'd just stay in my room. And then they started making like overtures to have me do stuff. And they wanted us to have family pictures made. And yep, boundaries are our friend. You're right. You are right. Absolutely. And that's what I did. Because the suggested boundaries were not being, what's the word I want? Followed? Observed, I guess. Slytherin. And now they are. It's like, oh, she meant business. So now they call before they come over. They knock before they walk into my room. So it's just little respect. It's just a little bit of respect, They don't talk to me like I'm a dog anymore, I don't know what Chinese year thing I am. I think, is it cock? Which I don't know anything about those. I think I read that on a Chinese menu somewhere. Year of the cock, whatever that means. Chicken. I wonder if that's why I'm afraid of everything. Although I think I'm over that now. Because I think the water slides have made me not afraid anymore. Because now I want to ride everything. But I used to be chicken. I'm still chicken about some stuff, though. Just the thought of, like, a haunted house or something. Rooster. Okay, rooster. I knew it was something like that. Just the thought of a haunted house still scares them out of me. Because I went to Halloween Horror Nights one time. One time. Swore never, ever, ever again. Like, I pushed the guy in front of me. Respected, that's the word I wanted. That's fibromyalgia. That's why I do that, where I forget words. Just like one word in a sentence. That's the fibromyalgia, guys. That's awful. But I pushed the guy in front of me through the whole haunted house. Like, literally, when we first walked in, I don't know if they were theming the houses back then. This has been way back in the 90s. Now they theme each house to a horror movie. And I don't think they were theming them back then, because it was just a mishmash of scary stuff. But when we first walked in, we weren't very far into it, and this guy just jumped out of nowhere and just stood in front of me. And then he moved back, but at that point I was done and I wanted out, and we weren't that far in. I should have just turned around and gone out the way we came in. But instead, I ran and I just pushed the guy in front of me, both hands, just pushed through the whole thing. And when we got out, I'm like, I am so sorry. He goes, that's okay. Didn't go to another haunted house the rest of the night. But I don't like to be startled. So that's a little different than riding scary rides. Riding scary rides are, you're safer because you're strapped into a seat. You don't have things jumping out at you. Yep. The house that Freddie built. I love the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I've got the whole box set. I have all of the Final Destination movies. I like movie jump scares. I like those. I don't like real life jump scares. And I think the reason why I don't have that fear of rides anymore is because this is going to seem stupid, y'all, but I literally, the anxiety was so bad, I really thought I was going to get hurt or die on a ride. And that roller coaster water slide, when I didn't get hurt on it and I thought it was fun, it just took all that fear away. And I thought, it's like roller coasters, it's like 2 minutes of my life, right? It's not going to kill me. If I don't like it, I don't ever have to ride it again. It's, so why be afraid? Like, I have stood in front of Velocicoaster at Universal waiting for my stepkids and just stood there and watched it in fear. Like, in fear for them because they were on it. Which is so stupid, to be afraid of something there's no reason to be afraid of. Yeah, I've watched Haunting of Hill House. I have vertigo, but it comes and goes. I've not had it in a long time. I have all the Final Destination movies, but there's a new one coming out. And I don't know how they're going to fit it in because the last movie ended up at the end of it ended up being a prequel to the first movie. Like, they came around full circle. I've only seen it once. I should watch it again before Netflix, because I just canceled Netflix, but it just renewed, so I've got another month on it. So I should watch it again before Netflix runs out. But yeah, I love horror movies. The ones I don't like are the ones that have heavy, like, occult stuff in them. Like, I haven't watched the Hellraiser movies, like Pinhead. Another good jump scare is in The Conjuring. Have you seen The Conjuring? That one's good too. That one has a really good jump scare in it. Don't what? Don't what? I'm not going to say what it is. Just watch The Conjuring. I like the Conjuring movies. All of them so far have been really good. Although I don't really think that the Warrens were the real deal. Oh, Pinhead. No, I don't want to. Like, there are diamond paintings of the horror movie icons together, And there's a whole bunch that have Ghostface, Michael, Jason, Freddy, and Pinhead. I don't want Pinhead. I like the other ones. I don't want Pinhead. And I'm like, no, why is Pinhead in all of these? I don't want Pinhead. Like, why? No, I don't. Like, ghosts, haunted houses, those kind of things. I hate clowns, but I like it. I mean, of course, clowns make the best horror villains. But I don't want. I did not watch the Saw movies for so long. I don't like torture porn. Oh, I shouldn't have said that word. I shouldn't have said the P word, but oh, you were disappointed? How did they fit it in is what I want to know. Because the last I have all of them on DVD, and the last one was a prequel to the first one. It like comes around full circle. So how in the world did they fit another one in there? I think they should have just left well enough alone. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I had not seen the original. That's the name of it. Final Destination Bloodlines. So is it someone related to somebody from the other movies? I watched the remake of I love Eric Balfour. That's his name, right? Eric Balfour. So I watched the sequel. I'm not the sequel, the remake. I'd never seen the original. And I loved the remake. And then I watched the original, and I don't know what happened. The original grossed me out so bad that then I started not liking the remake, and then I was going to watch like the sequels and everything, and then I just couldn't. It's really, really gross. It's terrifying. Like a good horror movie. I would never tell anybody not to watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre because it's an excellent horror movie, but Leatherface is just disgusting. It just. And I have got. I mean, I'm sure it's a taboo for everybody, but I don't want to say that word on. I don't want to say that word on YouTube. Like Jeffrey Dahmer. Um, there's um there's an episode of Criminal Minds with a guy that does what Jeffrey Dahmer did. But so a girl goes missing, and he he signs in on the list of volunteers, but he doesn't actually help search. And they were like, why was this guy's name on the list of volunteers, but he didn't search? Well, he fed the volunteers, and he actually fed the volunteers the person they were looking for. And that is like so gross to me. I just can't. Like stories of people that had to do that to survive. I could never live with myself. I'd rather die. I would rather die of starvation to do that. I know that that's taboo for everybody. But I can't even, stories about that. I can't. And I think that's part of why Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I can't watch it anymore. I just can't. Ugh. The Innkeepers. The Changeling. with George C. Scott. What is that one about? Because there's a movie called The Changeling with Angelina Jolie that's based on a true story, but it's not supernatural. That one, the one with Angelina Jolie, is about a woman whose son was kidnapped. Oh, it's two of Stephen King's favorite. Okay, okay, so I gotta write these down. I haven't read anything by Stephen King in a long, long time. I don't know why. I just quit reading. And not purposely quit reading, just haven't. I don't even know which side of this is sticky anymore. Okay, so The Changeling. The Changeling is a movie? Are they both movies? And The Changeling and the Innkeepers? Is that a book or a movie? Oh. Is that why he's different? Maybe that's why I stopped reading him. Oh, both free on Pluto. Cool. Okay. The Changeling with, I think it's called The Changeling, with Angelina Jolie. It's about, hang on, let me look it up, make sure I'm not telling you guys the wrong one. Timu, I wish Timu would quit texting me. Maybe I need to remove them from my text list or whatever. Because I spend enough money at Timu. They keep wanting me to buy more stuff. I keep saying I need to do another episode. I need to do an episode on this. I need to do an episode on that. But I'm always doing trials. Okay. Oh, The Changeling is 1980 George C. Scott, and the Angelina Jolie one is just Changeling. And it's from 2008. In 1928, Los Angeles, single mother Christine Collins returns from work to find her 9-year-old son Walter gone and calls the LAPD to initiate a search. 5 months later, a boy is found in Illinois who fits a description, and he says he's her son. So they take this kid. I know, right? So they take this kid. They give them to her. She says, "This is not my son." And they tell her, "Yes, he is your son." And they make her keep this kid. Can you imagine? They make this woman keep this kid and they tell her, "This is your son." And he's like, "No, this is not my son." And they think there was these people that were kidnapping boys. They had this, I think it was I can't remember, was it a pig farm or a chicken farm? There was a BuzzFeed episode about it. Yes, there was. There was. That's how I knew about it. I heard about it on BuzzFeed and then I found the movie and watched the movie. And it ended up, well, they cannot prove that he was killed by these people, but they think that's what happened to him. Her real son. And then there's another one. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I could do that. I really don't. I mean, I know there's historical stories about like the Donner Party. way back when. And there was a shortcut that they wanted to take. And no, wait, they did take a shortcut. Didn't they take a shortcut? But if they hadn't taken, if they'd gone the long way, they actually would have. I can't remember. There was another way. Anyways, there was another way to go, and some people took that way and made it. And the people that didn't take that way were the ones that ended up doing what happened, which I don't want to talk about. I saw the trailer for it, and it looked interesting, but I wasn't sure. I err on the side of caution. Like, it looks spooky, like, ooh, that might be something I want to watch, but at the same time, I was leery of it. I'm weird about what I watch. Okay, that was it. I couldn't remember if it was the shortcut that was a good way or the long way that was a good way. So if they had gone the long way, they would have been fine. Yeah, I couldn't remember which it was. I knew it was something like that. So is it good, Robbie? I just got rid of some of my streaming services. I still have everything for a month because everything just renewed. And then I went in and I just canceled a bunch of them because I want annual passes to Universal again. And I want the annual passes so I can get, which is, this sounds stupid too. I want the annual passes because I want annual passes, but I want the annual passes so I can get a cheaper ticket to Epic Universe. But although they might change that next year, and I might not be able to get the annual passes till next year anyway, so it's probably not going to do me any good to cancel all these streaming services anyways. But I don't watch them half the time. I usually just watch YouTube, but lately, because of this trial, I'm just so like, I don't want to watch trials. I don't want to watch courts. I don't want to watch body cam. I don't want to watch anything right now except just, I'm watching stuff I've seen before, like stuff I don't have to think about, stuff I don't have to worry about pausing it or I'll miss it. Like, I don't know. It might not make any sense to anybody else, but it does to me. It's like, and I don't know if it's because of the ADHD or what. It rests my brain to just have stuff I've already seen going on in the background while I'm crafting or whatever. I don't know how to explain it other than it just rests my brain to have stuff on. So I'm watching reruns of Criminal Minds and Star Trek and old movies I've watched. That kind of stuff is what I'm watching right now. I miss Biggin though. I kind of feel like I'm being disloyal to Biggin, but I need to rest my brain in the evenings through this trial. They survived 72 days. Some of them lived, right? I mean, like, they didn't all die, did they? Some of them survived. Like, they got rescued, right? Travis won't watch horror either. But a couple of years ago, it was September, and I was watching, I don't know, Scream or something. And he looked at the TV and he looked at me and he goes, "It's a little early, isn't it?" And I said, "There's more horror movies now. I can't wait till October anymore. I gotta start in September." It's like, okay. But that's how I celebrate Halloween. We don't have kids to go trick-or-treating with, and we live out in the country, so we don't get trick-or-treaters, and I don't like haunted houses. So that's how I celebrate Halloween. I just watch haunted horror movies for 2 months. Like September and October, I watch horror movies. And I like the kids movies like what are they called? Halloween Town on Disney Channel. Halloween Town and Twitches, and there's another one about a mummy. I forgot what it's called. Phantom of the Megaplex is one. Can of Worms. There's a bunch of really good kids. Girl versus Monster. They've got some really, really, really cute kids Halloween movies on Disney Channel. Oh no, but I bet you that is hilarious. I like horror comedies too. There's another one. What is that one called? Rugby, soccer. Doesn't matter. I mean, not in the long run. Dale forgot the name of it, but it's some kids. Oh, 16 people survived. It's about some kids that are camping out in the woods, and there's a couple of rednecks out there that they think are serial killers. And so the redneck guys are defending themselves against the teenagers because the teenagers are trying to kill them because they think they're serial killers, but they're not. So they're just defending themselves, and they accidentally end up killing the teenager. So it's a slasher flick. Yes, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. It's hilarious. I love that movie. I mean, it's morbid. Alan Tudyk is in there. How did I not know that? Now I need to watch it again. Oh yeah, Hocus Pocus too. Yes, Hocus Pocus. I love Hocus Pocus. The sequel, not as good as the original, but I love the original. Zombieland. I've not seen the sequel to Zombieland yet. Wow, it's so weird how much we all have in common. That's crazy. I love Alan Tudyk. He's in everything. I started watching. What's the name of his show? I don't even know if it's still on. Alien Resident. Now that's one thing I don't like. I think that goes along with the chick flick thing that I don't like chick flicks um because Resident Alien. Yeah. Because I just never got into chick flicks because it was so long. Oh, okay. How many seasons are there now? I watched the first season and I don't know what happened. I just never. And what does it come on? I might have to get one of my streaming services back. I need to watch it. I don't know why I quit watching it. Some of their Christmas movies are fine. Others are just too much romance. I don't know. I don't hate romance, y'all. I just the funny like rom-coms, if they're really funny, they're fine. But if they're like super sappy, I just don't. It's not realistic and I don't like it. Okay, well, I guess I'll let you guys go. I need to go for a walk. It didn't rain, but it kind of looks like it might be overcast and maybe gonna, I don't know. Yeah, I don't like cheesy. I guess Belle went and laid down. I don't know what she wanted, but I guess she got the message. I was like, I can't deal with you. I'm printing both. Yeah, I like cheese. Well, aren't we the same person, Wiggles? All of us. We all share a brain. We all share a brain. You know that. Okay, guys, have a wonderful weekend. I love you all. Thank you guys for being here. Please like the video. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And remember, be kind to people, love your family, and Jesus loves you, and so do I. Bye, guys. I'll see you Monday morning.